came to know Mutebile, I think when he was still an undergraduate at Makerere. He was slightly behind me in school, in the university. And I think by the time Amin came to power, while we were already out working, Mutebile was still at the university at Makerere. Immediately, Amin came, we decided to, with the Rugundas, Rugunda was also still at Makerere, we decided to fight Idi Amin. On the very day Idi Amin announced his coup, it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 5, we had met at Bugorovi in Yona Kanyomo's house, and we had decided to fight Idi Amin. That was 25th of January, 1971. I spent the 26th of January arranging some money, and on the 27th, I left with 4 other people through Mbarara and entered Tanzania. So the Rugundas and the Mutebiles stayed in Makerere, in the university. I think he even competed for guild or something like that. I was hearing some of those stories, but I was not concentrating on them because I had more urgent things to deal with. So afterwards, I think they had some issues at Makerere with Amin and Rugunda, with whom I was in contact. At one time, I even came and spent a night in Rugunda's room when I was already a guerrilla from Tanzania. Spent a night in Rugunda's room in a university called University Hall, which was above Northcote. Northcote was here, this one was like somewhere up there. And then I went with Rugunda to meet Rugumayo. Rugumayo was a minister in that Amin government. So we went and met Rugumayo, and then that was in 1972. They were still there. I think even 72, they were still there. I think it was after that they left. Now, when they left, I didn't hear about Mutebile. I think he went abroad. But Rugunda went to Zambia, the University of Zambia. So that one we were in touch. I used to go to Zambia and meet our people there. So when we came back, 79, I didn't see Mutebile much. Again, we were with the Rugundas, and Mbabazi had linked up with us in 1974. I had discovered Mbabazi through some search. I carried out some research because in 72, we made some mistakes on our side. We attacked Idi Amin when we were not ready, and we were defeated in Mbarara and Masaka. So we had that setback. Now, I think it's actually that setback which forced the Rugundas to run away. That mistake of ours of doing things prematurely. So the 79 we came, but the politics of Uganda was not sorted out. That's what Mutebile was talking about, the killings, the what. And we had those elections. I don't know what Mutebile was doing at that time, whether he had rejoined the government or what, I don't remember. Then we went again to fight the second round. In the second round, the Rugundas, the Mbabazis, the Chikeres, this time we had a very strong group in Nairobi known as the External Committee. But Mutebile, I think remained here, or I didn't see him. Now, when we were in all those fights, because people have been talking about the economy of Uganda, I want you to get the story accurately. The synthesis of the different currents that enabled the economy to come up. When we were in the bush, we wrote the 10 points program. You should get that program and see it. And it had a number of points, but I think the 2 points that affected the economy most were a number of them. One of them ensuring security of person and property, and secondly, point number 5, which was talking of building an economy which is integrated, independent, and self-sustaining. So we came with these 10 points from the bush. When we came, we found these civil servants who were in the ministries. And this is where now the Mutebiles come in. In particular, they contributed 3 points. Point number 1 was, those who know Nyankore Ruchiga would know Okomora. Okomora. I don't think many of these people know what Okomora is. Okomora means when you are bleeding, somebody to stop the bleeding. That's Okomora. So the group of Mutebile, who were very good students of the IMF, because they were following the ideas of the IMF very closely, and World Bank, that group. While for us, we were not concentrating on that point. We were concentrating on the economy in general, investments, security, the sectors, agriculture, industry, and so on. But then it was the Mutebiles who pointed out that, but in order to do that, you must Okomora. You must remove too much money in the economy, what they call excessive liquidity. Because if you don't do that, you will have too much money, chasing too few goods, inflation will go up, and the investment you are talking about will not happen because people cannot be confident to invest if the prices are 10 shillings today and 100 tomorrow and 1,000 the following day, a price of an item. So definitely that was the contribution of Mutebile. He had others like Mhakanizi and others. They were there in the Ministry of Finance. who were emphasizing that point, the one of controlling liquidity in the economy, not too much money, which means you should have a disciplined budget. If you don't have money, don't spend the money you don't have. That was their slogan, which helped us, because for us, we were not focusing on that particular point. Then the second contribution was the allowing the Uganda shilling to float, as they were calling it. Before that time, we had a fixed exchange rate. The government would say, now the dollar is, at that time it was originally 7 shillings, $1. But the Mutebile has pointed out that if you, that is distorting the economy, because you are selling the dollar at 7 shillings, but in the black market, it is 500 shillings. So why do you allow that to happen? Why don't you let the shilling float? Let it find its value. Definitely that was the idea. It was the idea which they added to our program of the 10 points. So you can say it is part of the point number 5. Point number 5, they enriched it. Now finally, their group, and I think here they also made some mistakes, was that the privatization. They believed in privatization, which we also believed in, but we are not very much. For them, they really believed in privatization, which we also believed, but not to the same extent. Now, as happens, there was another faction in the Ministry of Finance, led by Surma, Dr. Ezra Surma. That was another party. So this one was something, and the other one was another something else. There were two wings of the NRM economic team. Like on the issue of the commercialization of the UCB, big war. Surma did not believe that UCB should be commercialized, should be privatized, because he was saying it is making profit. While we believe in privatization, but if it is making profit, why do you privatize it? The Mutebile had their own arguments, which persuaded me, but I think this time they were wrong. Because they were arguing that the reason the interest rates are high in Uganda is because of the corruption in UCB. UCB managers, because it is a government bank, they carelessly or corruptly give loans to people who don't pay back. And therefore, we who are paying for ourselves, but also for those who don't pay. That's why the interest rates were high. So that argument persuaded me. It was a big war. It was a big war in those ministries. So I got persuaded, and I sided with the Mutebiles. I said, okay, let's privatize it. Banange, after privatizing it, the interest rates have never gone down. They are always up. And now I started, and now when they came, the Mutebile group, When they came for the UDB, I said, UDB temujikwatako. Nobody will touch UDB ever as long as I'm in the government, because I think this was the privatization of UCB was a step too far. So therefore, there's no doubt that Mutebile was very devoted to that line of the World Bank and the IMF, which could work if you put it in a broader context of the 10 points program. That's why actually the economy has recovered. It has not developed as much as I want it to develop, partly because the World Bank line neglected. You see, the World Bank have got anti-planning bias. They sort of say, you do this, if you do this, other things would work for themselves. That's not exactly true. But if you combine the two, like we did, taking advantage of these economists, Mutebile, Kasami, they had a group there, Kasami, Muhakanzi. There are others who are not well known, but they are all there. Using their, number one, control the supply of money. Number two, liberalize the currency, the foreign currency. And number three, privatize. Because definitely some of the privatization were very useful. You remember, for instance, UTC. UTC was a government company. The government was owning buses. You can imagine. Now we said, why should the government, the Mutebiles were arguing rightly that why should the government own buses? Let the buses be owned by private people. And I went with them there, and we gave up the transport sector. And you saw how much it stimulated. Because the government was suppressing people who could go into transport. Once it withdrew, because remember that time we had only 2 bus companies in Uganda. There was UTC and People's Bus. And I think they were both owned by the government or something like that. So where does the private sector person go? So by the government withdrawing, so many people have flocked into the transport sector, buses, taxis, borders. So that was a correct decision in terms of privatization. Then you come to hotels. The government was owning hotels. And the Mutebiles were arguing, why should the government own hotels? Let the private people own the hotels. And I listened to their line. And you see how much it has stimulated these Afrikaners, the what? Hotels all over the place. But when they came to UCB, there they went across the border, and I should have listened more to Suluma than to them. So, and now the Betty was saying, thanking me for keeping Mutebile for a long time, both in the treasury, but also in the bank. Me, I like that civil war of ideas. This one has got, because Suruma is there with his ideas, this one is there. They help me to understand better. Instead of having just one way of thinking. So I liked it so much. That's why This meeting is really, it's like a civil war. Somebody comes with an idea, you see him really very kiyamba okuvuganya ebirowoozo okuvuganya ona akkiriza kino oli akkiriza kiri. It is so. I am very happy. They have definitely contributed. All of them. The Mutebile group in the three areas which where they were active, the people like Surma, and of course the whole or the NRM fraternity, ministers like, for instance, Vicky Sektoreko. Vicky Sektoreko is the one who started the maize, turning maize into cash crop. People didn't know that maize could be a cash crop. They were thinking that coffee, what? So all these actors, fortunately, I have them in my head, but I think I should put it down in writing before I forget, to know who did what, so that you the Bazukuru, you now know where to add on, because it is a very wonderful group. Everybody brings in etofari. Mpulira abantu bange b'Emmengo bakozesa ekigambo etofari. Edda ffe twakozesanga omuganda. This one has made this contribution. So the contribution of the Mutebiles, three areas. Number one, control liquidity so that you control inflation. Number two, the currency reform, floating, so that the shilling finds its level, its actual level, rather than the artificial level of fixing. And then thirdly, the privatization. So I'm really here to salute the contribution of Mutebile as a person, and Mama Betty has told you how dedicated he was, and you could see that he was very dedicated. If you want a paper about an issue, it will be there in the next 2 days. He will produce it. It is that dedication that you should emulate. With these few words, I want to express my condolences to the family, to Uganda, to the Ugandans, and I wish him eternal peace in the life after here, where he already is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that